Battlefront.
And welcome to Battlefront SouthGate. I am your host, Dustin Faulkner. It has been a long time since we've been able to be with you, but I'll tell you what, we have been working hard behind the scenes to uncover things in this nation that are coming against everyone. And I'm glad that you stayed tuned with us tonight here on the GK Podcast Network. As you can see, tonight is our first show live. Usually we have been presenting these shows of Battlefront Southgate as podcast form. And they have been very popular shows. We've uncovered things from seminary abuse to sexual abuse in the church. We have also covered things of those who are leadership in the church that have come against the nation, that have used the church to destroy and overtake America from within with our own hands. We have also uncovered many of the global issues that have arrived on the shore of our great nation of America. As I have spoken about many times before, the immigration issue was a very strong issue that caused everybody to be alarmed and to see that their nation was being overtaken by a problem of bringing in illegal aliens. And I also uncovered that they were using that issue in the church to bring in the Marxist influence, the leftist influence. And we presented to you in a 5-part series called Immigration Warfare of how that was being used. So be sure to go there on thegatekeepersonline.com and view and listen to those episodes. You can also view them on the GK Podcast Network on YouTube. But not just that issue, we uncovered the problematic red-green axis, which was very strong in America and was used to this immigration warfare issue about how they send them to the shores of our nation to overtake us. And we see in that issue that it will be coming back again if we allow certain things to go unopposed. Because we are called for in the Bible to raise up a shout against those things which are wrong. And that's what we do here on Southgate. That is why I come to you and I present to you all of the information that is required for you to be equipped to go out there and stop the things that are coming against you, that are going to not just infiltrate your nation, but they're going to infiltrate your families. And many of you have seen that, haven't you? Many of you have been able to experience this personally. You can also see that when we were showing you this face of the red-green axis of Ilhan Omar, whom we did a 3-part series on of her and Rashida Tlaib, that this was becoming a problem. This problem with Islam and the acceptance of it. And as I spoke to you from Battlefront Broadcasting live field report last night, I told you how we started Battlefront Broadcasting. And what we started it with was these issues. And then when we began to partner with gatekeepers, we were going against one of the greatest leaders in the church of Reformed theology. And this was James White. You might remember, most of you who have tuned into us and also followed much of what Gatekeepers has said, that we were uncovering a great problem. And that problem was when he brought Yasser Qadi into his church and put him on an equal platform with Christianity. And you will remember that he called this man a kindred spirit. But what does this man do, and what did he do? He was partnered with many of the infiltrators who came to say that they were peaceful, that they don't go against anything, and that they are of our equals, and that they have the same belief system as us, but it's just slightly different. And they are one of the faiths from the Abrahamic faiths. But we know, those of us who have studied the Quran, that that is not true. But you'll remember how heated that was, how they came against us and started to fight against us on those issues. And that's why we partnered with Jeff Dornick and his Gatekeepers Online network to bring to you our show, which we would dig deep into these issues, and then we would present evidence, as always, what we do, to make sure that you know that this is the truth. And the kickback against us day and night was incredible. And it showed that on the face of it, we had a problem in the church, that they could not see past those leaders whom they have followed for so long. And tonight, we're going to get into what you need to be doing, because now we stand here. Now we stand here, ladies and gentlemen, as Americans. And we have a great problem in our nation. You'll remember that we started reporting on the COVID-19 issue very early. We presented to you the issues that were coming against us. You could also go and watch our lives with Jeff Dornick and Schumann, and you can see with J.D. Rucker when we were exposing a lot of this going on. And then you've seen the lockdowns that were used in this. And remember, if you go back, you will see one of our great episodes of Event 201, the dress rehearsal. And we presented to you a lot of what wasn't being said. Because remember, that's what we do here at Southgate. Southgate always brings it to the table and puts it forth to you to let you know that things are not well within the church. And we have been infiltrated. But throughout this year, as we are rounding out 2020, can anybody believe that? Can you just think for a second how fast time has gone by and how problematic everything that we have been talking about has become? And those who would quickly go against us and say things that are not true and to slander everyone who has tried to cry out and raise a shout unto the nation of the things that are not good. And not just to Christians, but to all who are in it. Because as Christians, we are protectors of our neighbors. Because we want to be able to witness to them. We want to be able to have our religious freedom. Because without our voice, the nation goes dark. And many of us saw this issue with the election virus, the Wuhan virus, being the ultimate weapon that would be used to overshadow and take us. And so now I want to come to you tonight and talk to you about these things and what we need to be doing. You might remember that we called for, as we were exposing Master's Seminary and John MacArthur. Yes, that's right. I said John MacArthur. I can already tell that many of you who are watching already hate it when we say this. But these are the facts. And you'll remember that we tried to tell you that those people had issues that were allowing their flock that they shepherd over to be overtaken. And so they turned blind eyes to the things that were being done. And then that's why it's important for all of us to be able to make stands against these problems. And you, as Christians, are sitting here now, probably locked inside your houses because you allowed these things to happen. And that's why we have called for a new Reformation within the church. Because we have fallen short of the glory of God because we have cared about our own safety. And we have traded our freedoms in order for security and safety. And I'd say that that's not such a bad thing that you want to be safe. But there's a time when that has to come to a stop when you are going against what's happening around you. So tonight, join me as we will be presenting to you what must be done. Now, as you remember, as I was just saying, that we were saying that there needed to be a reformation within the church. And, as we exposed these leaders, we began to see that there was a falling away of those who listened to these people and used scripture falsely and twisted it in order to justify their reasons to follow these folks. And you know what I think? I believe this within my heart, that we are here for this time to bring about this reformation within the church so that we can call out these people, so that we can stop the infiltration, so that we will not be destroyed, so that we can be responsible to one another. So that as iron sharpens iron, so shall the man sharpen the countenance of another man. And we will sharpen you because we have to reform the church. We have to stop the Marxist infiltration. How many of you during this election virus yearned and wanted so badly to be with your pastors? And then how many of those kept their doors closed because they didn't want to kick against the government, as they used Romans 13 to justify capitulation and surrender to the government, which was overtaking them and still takes you. We continue as we are now, being told we can't be with our families because of this sickness. And we are not discounting this, but so much information has come out about this. And we see that it is as deadly to many, to most, as it was purported to be. They weaponized this issue in order to overtake you. And many of them, as great programs presented and articles were presented on the Gatekeeper's online site, shut their doors to you and told you to stay home and live stream their sermons. But you can't be with each other. And then now they're doing it again, allowing that issue to justify them to do this. And what did they do? Many of them, under the CARE Act, took money and sat at home and did not defend the liberty given to us through Christ to worship openly with one another. And many of these large organizations, as you have seen recently, Joel Osteen, but we know we know about him, guys. I was preaching to the choir here. I know that you don't, many of you don't accept him as a true leader and Christian within the church. You know, he's a charlatan. But he's not the only one who's done that. Master Seminary has taken PPP loans. So they took those paycheck protection loans and justified themselves to stay at home. And it came back to bite them, didn't it? So we see that now we have in the church those who have come against us. And when we come back from the break, we will dig into this and we will talk and tell you what is going on and what needs to be done and who are the real Christians who stand for liberty and the freedom in Christ to worship together openly and to protect the nation and their neighbors. So stay tuned with us here on Battlefront SouthGate Live as we call for the new Reformation. Be right back. This is Battlefront SouthGate.
And so the logo of the boule today is a half man, half lion, okay, which represents the transgender sexual disorientation of the boule with its right paw on what we call an urn, capital URN, which they keep ashes of dead people. So that's a sign to the elite that these black bourgeoisie people who are charged to protect the system, not a white people, but this demonic system, what we call the Luciferian deep state, they are charged, these boules, to protect them. Why? Why? Because they sold out because of the love of money. And you know what the word says, the love of money is the root of all evil. So that logo on the insignia of the boule is also tattooed on the chest of LeBron James. Look it up. So then LeBron James is a boule. Gayle King is a boule. Oprah Winfrey is a boule. Okay, Denzel Washington, Samuel L. Jackson, all of your sports and entertainment black people in Hollywood, they are bought and sold by the system. So you have to understand, brother, slavery was not abolished. Slavery was only redesigned. Let me say this again, and I'm not teaching victimhood. This has nothing to do with white people or African or any other ethnicity. So when we break down the word slavery, slavery actually means it's a psyop where you hate yourself because you don't know who you are. See, that's the problem with Black America. Not all, but a great percentage. Black Americans are the only group of people on this planet who don't know who they are. They know what they are, but they don't know who they are. And so then, when we look at the Boule Secret Society, they're chosen also to oversee what we call the crab barrel system. So the crab barrel system is a moniker that's been in the black community for hundreds of years. It means that the global Luciferian deep state has created this global pit to keep not just people of color, any person whom they deem to be a threat at the social and financial and spiritual level. And out of that crab barrel, the crab barrel masters, Rothschilds, Rockefeller, Oppenheimers, Lee family, they reach in and pull out a Kobe Bryant, or a Bill Cosby or Colin Powell or a Barack Obama or a Michelle Obama not to pull other crabs out, but they are chosen to keep the crabs in.
Now, again,
Right.
we're talking about eugenics of the black people group.
Right.
First of all, what people group was actually beginning to break the chains and to experience a huge success in the last couple of years under the Trump administration?
Yes.
And that is black people. And how do you stop them?
Oh.
Right. And there's one thing. Whether you want to say or believe it or not, you can't deny in the past history the systematic oppression of them. That's why this whole movement about breaking the chains and leaving the so-called plantation of the Democrats.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it. They've been oppressed by the left. How do you stop that now that everybody's leaving the organizations as black Americans? How do you scare them with death? And you get them and you tell them this virus is killing them. Then, boom, it automatically killed the upward mobilization of black Americans and their success.
Because the Democratic Party was never designed for black America. Never. The Democratic Party is designed to be a psyop of self-enslavement through victimization. I keep telling young black people, stop saying, oh, Bishop, I gotta work 10 times harder because I'm a black man or a black woman. Stop. That's victimhood. Brother Dustin, I am not a victim. I am the victor. Christ has saved me. I've been in ministry for 40 years, 25 of those years as a nationally syndicated radio talk show host. I have traveled to more than 101 countries. I am not a victim, but the Democratic Party has convinced and lied to black America that they are victims. Someone owes them something. And I keep telling my nieces and nephews, nobody owes you nothing. Nobody. I didn't reach out for any handouts, no affirmative action to get me to seminary. Okay, for 7 years of both my undergrad and my THE, my doctorate in systematic theology. I worked 2, sometimes 3 jobs because my father, my entire family are black conservatives. They believe in conservatism. They are Christian conservatives. They taught us the value of education and the value of hard work. But you got a generation of young black people who are being manipulated. And this is how the deep state does. Through problem, reaction, solution. This is how the Democratic Party does. They create a catastrophe, okay? Just like the jogger who got shot. But see, this is how the mainstream, they don't tell you the whole story. This jogger had a criminal past who was arrested at least 3 times before for breaking into people's homes. He wasn't jogging, he was going to break in someone's home. And I know black people don't want me to reveal this, but I got to tell the truth, better God. So that father and son was just protecting them because they were being attacked. But the mainstream media won't tell you this. All they would say, a white man killed a black man. And then it solicits an emotional reaction from the masses of black people in which they want these devils who had created this crisis to provide for them a solution which the deep state had already created before they created the crisis. It's a game.
And welcome back to Battlefront SouthGate. I'm your host, Dustin Faulkner. Tonight we're going into the issues of why there needs to be a new reformation within the church. Because we have been seeing all of these things that's been happening to us as we've, in this nation, been put down upon our knees. And not in a good way. Because the problem is that we may be upon our knees, but who are we bowing to? And who are our shepherds telling us to bow to? But first, we spoke about a lot of these issues that were coming to pass. And we put out a book called Social Injustice. And it is exposing the false gospel of the social justice movement. As I spoke about earlier, I wrote in there about the illegal immigration issue, which is how they've been able to bring a lot of the people over and then resettle them. And we're not just talking about Latinos here. We're talking about people who were coming over and infiltrating the nation, like Somalis and those who do not care much about religious freedom but the caliphate. And those who would not obey the laws because they break the laws of your nation by coming over here illegally without going through the proper processes to get here. And we wrote that with 12 authors as we exposed and put through different issues around that whole social justice movement. You can get that book at gatekeepersonline.com. And then remember, you can use the code Dustin. And the code Dustin will get you 10% off of anything in that store. You need to have this book in your arsenal. We've spoken about this time and time again since that came out. It's actually a very popular book for us. It was our first book. And you will see there, and somebody who we are about to speak about here shortly, Thomas Littleton, and what he exposed in there about the gay agenda, as you are seeing today happening in your nation. Also, we came out with a new book, and this book is called Church and State. How the left used the church, how the left used the church to conquer America. And in there, I write about what we're talking about tonight. And I tell you how all of this began and how this started here in Tyler, Texas, and then grew into a vast network through the mega church movement and through the empowerment of the false gospel within the church as growing into these mega churches, and how they used the leadership network to be able to conquer the churches. And as we've seen, a lot of them grew and then went on to become what we see now as the Gospel Coalition. I prove to you with facts and footnotes in there why and how your churches became compromised. You can pick that book up as well on Gatekeepers Online, and then you will use the code Dustin, again, DUSTIN, and get 10% off of that book. In fact, they come as a bundle. You can get that bundle there as well. The first book and the second book. We speak more in the second book of Church and State about how it is infiltrated the political landscape of your nation. And in the social injustice book, we told you about how they used that issue to conquer your people. And those are very good books. I highly recommend them. Jeff Dornick did a great job of rounding up all of these authors, such as Pastor Greg Locke. You also have Pastor Kim Peters on there, who founded the Church at Planned Parenthood. And you've seen what happened to him, how Planned Parenthood was allowed to conquer and push him out and then sue them. And still, he valiantly fights there on that field of battle for the unborn. And you also have Pastor Sam Jones. Dr. Robert Oscar Lopez also writes in that book about the rot in the seminaries. Guys, this is why we're calling for the new Reformation in the church. You have to stop this. And the way that you can do that is get those books. You can, I have Social Injustice still here on hand. You can email me at battlefrontbroadcasting@outlook.com, $25, and I will sign that book personally to you. And you can have that in your arsenal to be able to go there and use them as a reference as you're speaking with the people around you on what the issues are that cause them to be conquered and to be fooled into believing that we have to use the church to advance social issues that aren't good for you. Also, you can go there on the site and you can get a hold of Pastor Sam Jones's book that just came out, and that is 5 Ways to Kill a Nation. And in that book, he goes over using the 10 Commandments, I believe, and tells you what you need to be doing in order to stop the things that's happening in this nation. And he tells you in that book, I haven't been able to read it yet, but we'll be getting our copy here soon. He tells you how these issues are going to be used to kill a nation. And I'm pretty sure that, judging by everything that Pastor Sam Jones has always presented there in the Shining Light podcast and being on with us, and the fight that he has endured this year there in Iowa, fighting back and being a proper shepherd of his flock, you see that those ways are happening in the nation. So I highly recommend you guys go there to the Gatekeepers Online site, get those books, use the code Dustin, and you can get them 10% off. Code Dustin, Dustin. Now, back to what we were saying. You are probably endured a lot this year, especially because of this pandemic that has been used to lock your cities down, to keep you from visiting with family members, and especially to keep you from being able to worship with one another in your church. And then about the highly unlawful executive orders that have been given to you in order to keep you from being able to act in your nation and to provide for your family, to be able to do what we used to do, and that is to find our ways to succeed, to pursue happiness rightly, and to live in true Christian liberty. And now we have the issue with Kamala Harris and Joe Biden having stolen the election. Now, you have seen through many articles there on the Gospel Coalition site, which I write about there in Church and State. The Church State that is TGC, the Phoenix of the Third Way. They have now really cast that mask off, haven't they? And if you have any of your pastors, that have actually gone out there and they shut their churches down during this, and they continue to keep it shut down, that's probably a good sign that you need to leave that church. He's not practicing his biblical office. He's not practicing that which is given to him in order to protect the flock, to equip the saints for the work of God. Because when you are saved by Christ, you are given a new life. That is why you are supposed to live in that. And you're not supposed to be afraid of the world around you. You are not supposed to allow these things which go over the law of God to stop you. You are supposed to oppose those. This is the time that you need to be opposing those things which do not follow the word of God. We are not to be here in this country living in evil. Now, Does God let these things happen? Absolutely. We live under a sovereign God. But everything that God allows is for the betterment of you. It is for the growth and development of his people, and it has strengthened us. And it has actually opened our eyes of many Christians who have been asleep at the wheel. Now, there's a problematic thing with that Kamala Harris, how you see now with Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, how you see that they're already appointing people to their cabinet. They've announced it. Disgusting, depraved people. And as you see that in your schools, which thankfully many of you have gone to homeschooling your children because of this crisis. And yes, it is a crisis. It is a war upon you. It is a war upon you. It is something that is meant to break you down and destroy you and to make you hopeless. But you can't be hopeless because you know where your hope is. But do not let those people out there twisting scripture to tell you how to hope in a false way. And to tell you that when your hope is to be free and to practice your liberty in Christ, that they are wrong. That is not what we are supposed to be doing. We are supposed to be out there spreading the gospel, telling the truth. Now, as you see, in that he's appointed over the education, a depraved individual, a person who is a transvestite who identifies as a woman. That's about an ugly woman, I'd say. Man, I don't. That's about they never can look like women, can they? They never can. They know. And I'll tell you what, that by that shows a direction that they're going to be taking your children. And you can't sit there and let that happen. You can't sit there and allow these people to take over your nation and to tell you that this is the way things will be and that this is freedom. Now, Thomas Littleton over there on his site of 30piecesofsilver.org wrote a great piece. It was revealed on Worldview Week in Brandon House's program when a great speaker who we've also had here on the Gatekeepers podcast network. We spoke with him at the Destroy Social Justice Conference, and he exposes a lot of these things going on within the church. Now, we're not sitting here affirming, his belief system, but he has been empowered to give the truth, and he has shown us the things that are happening. And what he was talking about was the secular Democrats of America and this document which they are delivering, which is going to take away your Christian liberties. And then you have people like Russell Moore and all of the writers there of their Hegelian dialectic providing you with the affirmation that you need to accept this false election, and you need to not kick against the government and to start allowing them to do these things. In that the Socialist Democrats of America, when they delivered that, it was shown there that they intended to start taking away your religious liberties. They're already talking about shuttering the houses of faith. They're already talking about dismantling the Department of Justice Religious Liberty Task Force in the Health and Human Service Conscious and Religious Freedom Division, which is the and they want to repeal the executive order that was given, called 13798, which allowed us to speak against these things. And then it's going to be implemented all the way across America. And they want to rescind and replace the Justice Memorandum, which protects our religious liberty. They want to take and dismantle all of the things that Trump, who I believe God put here at a time such as this, to battle and give us the ability to fight back against those who have infiltrated the church, those Marxists who are telling you that they are the power and that you will obey them. And what they're going to do is they're going to cause you not to be able to speak, and they're going to cause you not to be able to, from the platform, as they've been trying through various forms all of these years, like the Equality Act, to allow these people to come into your church and to be able to proclaim their aberrancies. And that is a problem because we already have that tranny story hour that they've been doing with 5-year-olds. And you see all of those parents who are fools, who are calloused, who are Romans 1:21 morons, getting out there and allowing their children to be taught by a sexual perversion that will seek to molest them, that will seek to make their minds go against God. And ultimately, when they're going against those things, they're going against you. How many of you want to be sitting there and allowing your children to be pushing against you because some false government that is not ordained of God gets out there and makes them say that you are no longer the authority and that they are the authority themselves, and the UN rights to the child that says that they can follow what they want and not your teaching? How many of you want to do that? And how many of you are in your churches and the Gospel Coalition, all of the writers there, are being promoted, regularly quoted, like people still quote John Piper. And then you have people like Beth Moore. Beth Moore, who people, and I'm pretty sure this is my belief here, my opinion, I don't think that she ever intended to bring and stay on the platform of Christ. I believe that she, what she did is she knew how to talk to all of you. She knew how to speak the language in front of you. They can read the Bible, and then they can memorize these verses, and then they can make your ears perk up. And then she used that to infiltrate you so that she would bring about this social change. And now she is calling for you to obey these, and because of her hatred for Trump. And it's funny how many of them hate somebody like Donald Trump, who has done a great amount for religious liberty in protecting Christians and allowing us to not be trampled upon by those Marxist and devilish men around us. That is a reason for you to start seeing what's going on around you. Now, you'll be hearing people saying that they don't want to get in trouble. Let me tell you something. If you have a pastor who is not willing to lay down his life by standing in the gap for you, get out of that church. You can form your own at home. All you need is the Bible and righteous men to teach it, and you can form these as they were in the original first century churches, home churches. You can reform this. You can do these things. And it is important that you do them. It is important that you take a stand and not allow these people to overtake you, to make fools of you. Because now if you don't fight, you're going to be at the mercy of them. And we're going to lose everything. America is the last beacon of religious freedom that has gone out into the world and brought so many to Christ. Now, America didn't do that. God used America and our religious liberty here to be able to shine and glorify Him. And we have thrown all of that away. Over all of these years, the things that have come to fruition are because we let that happen. And because we let men infiltrate the church for money. They're greed. They're thieves. They're liars. They built these huge seminaries with their 501c3s because it's all about money. And because they don't have any other talent except deception. And a deceiver can only deceive as he has deceived himself. Now, we are coming up on ending the program. We are out of time tonight. Let me talk to you, pastor, who is sitting there and saying to himself, I don't want any trouble. I just want to live my life and that I have no reason to do this. You need to stop what you're doing. You have a requirement to lay down your life for your flock, to stand in the gap. You will do it, and if you have people there who are listening to me tonight, They need to leave you if you refuse to do this. We have called for this many times in many other programs. You are not being a proper shepherd. You cannot quit. You keep talking and you keep kicking against this, and let's get this election interference done. We can stop this. We can make this problem go away. You have a requirement in this nation to do something. Let us work together as Christians and defend this nation, defend this Constitution, defend the Bible. And if you don't, then you are a fool. Don't be one. Stand in the gap. When they come for you, you be there at the door waiting on them. And don't you dare hide. I'm not. And the people that I work with are not. We will lay down our lives for our brothers and sisters in Christ. We will lay down our lives for the Lord, because it is time to defend the truth. It has been great being with you tonight. Tune in to us every Saturday night live as we bring to you the truth, and the show gets greater and greater. We're back with you. It has been a pleasure. I am Dustin Faulkner, and let's keep going. SouthGate out.